Hello, 6th grade, and welcome to Math in 5 minutes or less. Today we will be looking at everything with fractions to review because we have a test tomorrow, and on the test there are lots of examples using fractions. So let's start. When you have a number or a fraction like 12 over 20, we want to put it into the lowest terms or the simplest form. We've got to make it the smallest it can be. You do that by knowing what are the factors of 12. The factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Then what are the factors of 20? 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3, no, 4 and 5. And now look at the factors you've got and find the one that is common, and it's also their greatest common. So they have in common 1 and 2. They also have in common 4. So we want to divide by the greatest common factor. We divide by 4. If you divide 12 by 4, you get 3. If you divide 20 by 4, you get 5. And then you ask, is that the fraction in its lowest terms? Don't assume it is. Sometimes our division can be wrong, and we need to keep dividing, keep reducing. In this case it is, simply because 3 is a prime number and so is 5. Remember, prime numbers only like themselves and 1. So that is taking a fraction and putting it into its lowest term or simplest form. Another thing you'll be asked to do is to take a mixed number and make it an improper fraction. We're going to do that by taking the denominator, multiplying it by the whole number, and adding the numerator. 3 times 1, add 1. 3 times 1 is 3, add 1 is 4. 4 over 3. It is now an improper fraction because the numerator, the top number, is greater than the bottom number. And that's what makes it improper, when the top number, the numerator, is greater than the denominator. It is called an improper fraction. Then you'll be asked to take an improper fraction and change it to a mixed number. A mixed number is a number that contains a whole number and a fraction, or a whole number and a decimal, right? So 22 over 3. This time we're asking how many times can we divide 22 by 3? And how many times do we do that, and is there a remainder? And what is the remainder? Write it as a fraction. So it's 22 divided by 3, which is 7. Subtract. This time we're not going to add a 0 and a decimal and bring down because we're working with a fraction. When you're working with fractions, your answer will be in the fraction form unless you're being asked to convert it to a decimal. So we have remainder 1/3. So you have 7 and 1/3, and that's 22 over 3 as a mixed number. 7 1/3. Now we'll be asked to add, subtract fractions. Remember, when you are adding and subtracting fractions, you must have a common denominator. That means the number on the bottom has to be the same. If it's not the same, you can't add it, you will not get it correct. If you're still struggling with this, draw pictures, draw rectangles with squares shaped out, okay? 6 is not the same as 3. Now, I could go to 18, 6 times 3 is 18, but let's wait. Let's think of the multiples of 3. 3, 6, 6. And we're using 6. So leave it as 6. Change the 3 to 6. We left this one. We're going to change this one. What did you do to 3 to get 6? You multiplied it by 2. Now multiply the numerator by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Now we're adding. We have 5 plus 4. 9 over 6 is your denominator. Now, that's an improper fraction, and we don't leave it like that unless we're told to, right? So we're going to change it, convert it to a mixed number. How many groups of 6 are in 9? 1 group, with 3 over 6 left over. And then you're going to ask and say, oh yeah, that's it, I've got the answer. But no, you need to stop there again with fractions. You always have to think lowest terms. Is 3 over 6 the lowest terms, or can I state that fraction another way? Can I reduce that fraction? You can. Divide by 3. You get 1 and 1/2. So our answer doesn't look at all like over 6 at all, right? So that's when you add and subtract fractions. Adding and subtracting fractions, you have to have the same denominator. Now when we go to multiplying fractions, I love multiplying fractions. It's the best one, I always think. Let's say it's 1/3 multiplied by 1/4. Just think of a train. It's going straight across. It's going across those parallel lines. 1 times 1, 1. 3 times 4, 12. Can that fraction be reduced? Can it be simplified? Can it be made lower? No. So the answer is 1/12, right? But the thing is that the fractions in multiplying, you're not always going to have just, oh, here's the fractions. So for example, on the test or on today's example, you will have 1 1/3 multiplied by 2 1/5. Before you can multiply it, you have to convert it to an improper fraction. This is a mixed number. This is a mixed number. Change this mixed number to an improper fraction. 3 times 1, 3. Add 1, 4. 4/3. Multiplied 5 times 2, 10. Add 1, 11. 11/5. Now just go straight across and multiply. 4 times 11, 44. 5 times 3, 15. How many groups of 15 can you get in 44? Well, if it was 45, it would be 3 groups, but it's not 45. It's going to be 2 groups with 14/15 left over, right? See how you get to know your multiples of 15? That should become more automatic for you. 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and 90, okay? Hopefully we're getting there, but that's what we want to do. Right. 2 more quick concepts. It's gone more than 5 minutes. Dividing. The minute you see a fraction that's going to be divided, you have to write KFC or copy dot flip. I'll use KFC on this one. Please write it. If you don't do it, you won't remember, right? First of all, keep the first fraction. Copy it, keep it. Flip. Flip the second fraction. And then change. Change from division to multiplication. Now multiply straight across. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 2 is 10. Is this fraction in its lowest terms? No, it's not. This is an even and even number. All even numbers love 2, so divide by 2, and you get 3/5. Okay? Let's do one more. Instead of using KFC, we'll use copy dot flip. So we will do 1/4 divided by 2/5. Copy dot flip. And I write it down so I don't forget it. Copy the first fraction. Dot, that's now multiplication. Flip the second fraction, 5/2. Now we have 5 times 1 is 5, 4 times 2 is 6. Will this fraction reduce, or is it already in the simplest form? 5 is prime, 6 is not a friend of 5, it is in the simplest form. So remember, adding and subtracting fractions, common denominator. Multiplying fractions, just go straight across. And dividing fractions, use the little acronym that works, KFC or copy dot flip. And then the last one is taking a fraction and changing it to a decimal or a percent. So let's imagine we have 3/5. Now, I have memorized my fifths. I know that 1/5 is 20, therefore 3/5 is 60. But if you're not there yet, this is how you do the math. 3 is your dividend. 5 is the divisor. Immediately you see you're going to need a decimal, so pop it in. You're going to have to add a 0, maybe more, right? Now is 5. Can 5 be divided into 3? Is 3 divisible by 5? No, it's not. Is 30 divisible by 5? Yes, it is. 6 times. And so therefore the answer is 0.6. Now take 0.6 and change it to a percentage. Now, how many zeros are in a percent? 100. There are 2 zeros in that percentage. Move the decimal 2 places. You're making that number bigger. Or think money. You don't have 6 pence in your pocket. You have 60 cents in your pocket. Move the decimal. You have 60%. So, the key to finding a decimal is dividing the fraction. And once you have the decimal, you can go immediately to the percent. Some fractions you know, like 1/2, oh, that's 50%. But if I said 3/8, you don't know if 3/8 is 50% or 60% or something else. You would need to divide first, then move that decimal by multiplying by 100. I hope you have a great day. Check in tomorrow because I'm going to go over some test problems before you take the test. Love you guys and miss you.